All right, guys, I got two cameras going. I'm not sure which one to look at. Part two of my conversation with Martin and Gill about boat insurance. And so we covered a bunch of ground in the first video, but in this video, I want to talk about the crap in and the crap on my boat.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, in different carriers, call them different things. We talk about coverage for the hull, talk about coverage for the motor. Progressive defines that as the watercraft, and everything that's then, bolted onto it, right? So the trolling motor becomes part of the watercraft when it's bolted on and permanently installed, right? But, so when you look at what is that value, I bought my boat for $75,000, I bought the $5,000 trolling motor, and I've got a $40,000 motor on it, but is that, all added together? Is that $40,000 part of the boat? You got to make sure you get that right. And then we all go and we add all these electronics to it.
So in general, boat, motor, trolling motor, not one that you screw on the transom,
right.
One that's permanently mounted, power poles, Raptors, Talons are covered under the boat policy.
Under the boat, under the hull, yes.
So now we need to look at what is or isn't permanently attached, and we've talked about, like you just read in the Progressive policy to me a minute ago, if it's bolted on, right, that's permanently attached. But if it's screwed on a bracket with those things, is that permanently attached? And it might be,
and
or
that
might
can be
not
marine electronics, So like marine electronics, including but not limited to, portable and handheld devices. They can't, it is not always exactly all the time this or that. But I think I like to look at it as, make sure that the number I have on my boat matches the the pricing for what the boat cost me and the things that I've attached to it cost me. And then I'm going to separate out my fishing gear into another bucket, and I'm going to set out my marine electronics into another bucket. And I'm going to say, okay, I bought, these graphs and the live scope and, whatever else I've got on there, and I'm going to make sure that I'm putting that in the right bucket by talking to the agent, talking to the person helping me with the policy, because different carriers are going to look at it different ways.
Because you defined in both of our policies, there was fishing equipment, and then there's personal property.
There's personal property and there's fishing equipment. They're not all the same, right? So, you get on with your clothes. Personal property,
I got a $600 gill suit that stays in the boat.
Sure. Or, if we're not talking fishing boats and you get someone on your yacht and they're wearing a $5,000 jacket and then, and the boat sinks while they're on it, what about that? Someone else's $5,000 jacket, How is that covered? There's personal property of others because people, come onto your boat with their valuables as well. So you can buy some limits for those. Normally you get a couple $1,000s for personal property of others thrown in. For fishing equipment, you better add that. It's so cheap,
Well, and by the way, so I had a conversation with my friend Stan this morning, and he goes, I think I got, he just said $5,000 or $10,000. I think I got plenty. And I said, do you? And I said, how many rods and reels do you have in the boat? He goes, probably 25. And I said, what do you think the value to those are? And he goes, well, $300 or $400 a pop. Well, if it's 25 at $400 a pop, which is not hard, it's 10 grand right there.
Yeah,
I got a rattle trap box that has 70 rattle traps in it because I've taken the hooks off of them. At $5 a piece, that's a $350 box of rattle traps.
Right.
So this adds up really, really quick.
It does. And we know that those things, are hard to replace too. The time and energy, we're not talking about used fishing equipment prices. We're talking about, you'll lose all this stuff at once because the boat's stolen, the boat burns, or the boat sinks. You want to be able to go out and go get it. You don't want someone nickel and diming you. You don't want depreciate. We're not going to buy used.
I want a big box tackle warehouse showing up.
We want to just go big, get it. I've got all the money. We're fishing next weekend. It's on order.
Martin, I've done a thing in the past that I haven't done in several years, but on the rare occasion I got all my crap out of my boat, I would videotape it. Is that a good idea?
Heck yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Take pictures, video, keep a spreadsheet, keep your inventory there, because in the event of a loss,
I don't have receipts for any of that crap anymore.
Not that you're going to have receipts for everything, but you think about the position that the adjuster is going to be in on the other side, and it's going to be...
Who would possibly have 40 rods and reels in their boat?
They're going to...
This guy.
They are going to expect that, right? If you've got a tournament boat, it's not out of the question. You're going to have 40 rods and reels. But if you've got a document, you've got a video, you've got some pictures of these things, the claims process is going to go so much easier. So much easier. So always a good idea.
I used to always do it, and I kept it in a file.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in years, but next time I empty my crap out, I'm just going to videotape everything.
Okay. I want to get back and talk about the hull. And I want to talk about a couple ways that you can get coverage for your hull, your boat. And one is what's called actual cash value, and the other is agreed value. And most of the better policies are on agreed value. This is really nice, and what that means is if I go buy a boat for $50,000, I put $50,000, in a limit on that insurance policy, and the boat, sinks or burns up and is a total loss, I'm going to get $50,000, right? If I buy a $50,000 boat in 2022 and it's an actual cash value policy, and 3 years from now, that boat's a total loss, they're going to run the depreciation and give me the blue book value as if it were a trade-in, and I might get $35,000, right? We can take the current boat market out of this.
Well, I mean, you take the guys who own the old champions that every year their value is still going up.
Yeah,
because guys want those old champions.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that agreed value is what you're getting because again, all these boat policies, they're already so cheap. So to get agreed value is like a $20-$30 difference.
Take it. And I also, you pointed out on my policy, I have something about depreciation waiver or waiver
on the motor.
Yeah, so
on the motor.
That.
So some of these policies too will maybe have some language that says, we're going to give you agreed value on the hull, but we're going to, in the event of a total loss or the event of a loss, we're going to give you depreciated value on the motor, right? Hey, the hull and motor together when you bought it were $75,000. It's been 10 years. The boat burns up. We're going to give you, $50 for the boat, but the motor is an old motor now. We're going to give you $5,000, and then you can't go out and replace it.
Yeah. So by the way, guys, looking at mine right here, waiver of depreciation on outboard drive, $50. That's what it cost me to have that stuck on there. So somebody was doing me right.
Yeah.
Jordan did a good job there.
Yeah. Yeah. We all want to be able to go out and get another boat. I mean, trying to replace your boat in the event of a total loss is difficult, right? It's all those man hours. So you want to be able to go out and get a new one. Have that money in your bucket to be able to go do it right away, and not be stuck with depreciation.
Well, and the truth is, you're going to pay a massive premium right now because there's no inventory anywhere. To get a new boat. All right, so we've got personal property, which define in your policy what is personal property.
So personal property are those effects that you bring onto the boat, right? That might be a cooler, that might be your cell phone, that would be your clothes, things like that are on the boat that are not fishing equipment, that are not attached to the boat. Sunglasses,
watch, phone,
someone's purse. And all the things that are included, the car keys that go over those are $800 now, right? So, things like that can be covered in there. I mean, there can be exclusions, right? I mean, every policy is a little different. I always got to keep saying that, but that's the idea, is that those personal things that aren't necessarily related to boating, but come onto the boat, and can be lost in an accident or lost.
And then fishing equipment, as defined in yours, was what?
Fishing equipment is going to be rods, reels, tackle, and the boxes that they're in. Your net. Anything used to, pursue the fish. Not your electronics, not your trolling motor. Not your graph.
But there may be policies that define a graph as fishing equipment.
There probably could be. So you want to just be sure that that you've put your fishing equipment in the right bucket.
So really, the way to do this. The way to make my life and your life easier would be for me to send you a document when I want to get insurance. And by the way, obviously I'll put Martin's contact info at the bottom down there. And you do everything, right? You do car insurance, home insurance.
We do it all.
I asked him earlier what's the most expensive car he insures right now, and what is it?
Ford GT, $400,000.
So, and by the way, that's one of the other things that's always concerned me about my car insurance is if I'm driving in Highland Park or run into a Lamborghini, it's through the limits on my car insurance immediately.
And that's why you have an umbrella, too.
That's why I have an umbrella policy.
Yeah.
If I hit a $400,000 car, I don't want to be out $100,000.
Yeah.
So, what was I talking about? Okay, so based on all of that, the smartest thing for me to be send you a note that says, hey, Martin, I've got a boat that costs this.
Yep.
That includes the motor and all my permanently affixed electronics.
Yep.
Okay. I've got this much fishing equipment in the boat. And by the way, do a video. I mean, I think that's it. Take pictures or do a video. The easiest way to document that, save it somewhere safe. I've got, I don't
trailer value.
Trailer value. I don't think I would personally get too bound up in personal property. I have, what do we say, 5,000 of coverage?
There's 15 on yours, but see, in Travelers, it could. You got to understand, is that personal property covering something that's more? What is their definition? You got to read that definition on each one, and. When we're getting a boat to insure, a lot of times if it's a new boat, the easiest thing for me to do is get the invoice. Send me the invoice. It's going to have the hull ID. It's going to have the horsepower. It's going to have the motor serial number. It's going to have all. It's going to have what you paid for, right? We want to put the tax on. It's a $40,000 boat plus tax. If you have to rebuy it, you got to pay the tax again, right?
So then we'd want to have that. We'd want to have it's going to be stored here.
Yes.
Storing address.
Yep.
We're going to have I have. Because a lot of boats today, especially on the front of the boats, there's really no way to mount 2 or 3 12 or 15-inch graphs in the dash.
Yeah.
So they're on brackets that are removable. So I should point that out to you, right?
Yes, for sure. And, because those things are super expensive. I take care of my graphs by taking them off when I park somewhere, but because, we do also keep deductibles on these, right? So, I keep a $1,000 deductible, right? So that means I've got $1,000 sitting out on my boat, and if someone steals it, it's not just that it's no problem.
Well, and to that point, so I know for a fact, we looked at it when we did my boat. I got just under $16,000 worth of electronics with 2 Garmin's, 2 Humminbirds, 360 and 4 and then a $3,000 trolling motor, which is nice to know that's considered permanently affixed. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But the rest of that stuff I do need to worry about.
Yeah.
And I think, having looked at this and having talked to you, I'm probably a little bit underinsured right now.
Yeah, and then bumping it up, what we're talking about, $70 to increase it.
Well, so great point. And I've got new glasses. I can't read for crap. So my personal property coverage at $15,000. Pull your limits up too in your pricing. My personal property coverage with a $250 deductible is $70 a year. This is so much cheaper than my car insurance, which I don't use it as much. I get it. Trailer, $5,000 trailer, $75. Uninsured boater, which we've not talked about.
We should talk about that while I look for my limits.
Is included here. So, none of this is terribly expensive to bump up the limits on it, right?
No, not at all. In the uninsured boater is one thing I want to come back to.
Do it. Talk about it.
Because, we all drive around on the roads and we think of uninsured motorist, the guy or underinsured, right? There's 2 types. There's uninsured and underinsured, right? Someone has insurance, but it's not enough. So this comes into play when something is not your fault. Another boat hits you and it's totally their fault.
All right, so let me back up, guys. So a lot of you guys will remember this, and there was a video on Texas Fishing Forum. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a dude, he was either in Oklahoma or Arkansas. You guys will remember this. He was fishing in a marina. This wonderful redneck with the mud flap hairdo came down and said, "Get out of my marina." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." And if you remember, that dude got in an aluminum boat and started ramming this guy's glass boat and just tore the crap out of it. And if that guy, which probably didn't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of, didn't have insurance, that would have fallen under this.
That's right. Your insurance that you're buying for comprehensive damage, doesn't cover someone else intentionally damaging your boat
or unintentionally,
because that's their liability. They are liable for that action towards your boat or your damage to you. And so this insurance would then, your insurance for uninsured or underinsured boater would step into place where their insurance should have been. And
that could be for my property, your property, my body,
people on your boat, injuries to your passengers.
Yeah.
Right? So you got 2 people on your boat, and this crazy guy, breaks somebody's arm with the bow of his boat as he's ramming it, and he doesn't have any limits, or he doesn't have any assets for anyone to sue for.
That's my bigger concern.
Right.
No insurance and nothing to sue him for.
Yeah. So always make that. So the rule is your uninsured motorist limits should match your primary liability limit. So if you're buying $300 in liability and you're getting the minimum need of the tournament, buy $300 in uninsured. If you're buying $500, you buy $500 automobile insurance. You should always buy equal amount.
So while we're here, what's the biggest mistake you see in auto insurance?
I think that's a good question.
Or do you see many?
I
threw a curveball.
I think generally it's buying lower liability limits. It's buying the 50, 100 or buying the 100, 300. I like to see people buy the 250, 500, 100 or the 500 CSL. It matters more where you are, right? Like you said, if we're driving around in Dallas, for Highland Park, there's $300,000 cars everywhere. You got a 50, 100, 50 car insurance. That means you have $50,000 for damage you caused to someone else's property. I mean, the bumper on a car these days can cost $40,000 to replace. So I think people underestimate that. And the other big one these days is on the rental coverage. It costs a lot more to rent a car these days than it did even a year ago. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're buying the $35 a day rental coverage to protect you for a month, if your car's in the shop, it's going to burn out in 10 days, and or you're going to have $35 max per day, and you're going to be paying the difference. So you're just,
so you're talking about if my car's in the shop, where my insurance will pay for my rental.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So we've been bumping everybody up lately to the max on that. Maybe it's $75 a day. The high net worth carriers will have $15,000 limit with Chubb or something like that, or $5,000.
So my Range Rover breaks down.
Yeah, you get another range.
Yeah.
You don't have to go down. With,
Not driving a Range Rover. Driving a 5-year-old F-150, boys. Anything else we need to cover that you can think of?
I don't think so. I think there's one more thing I'll bring in. A lot of these carriers now offer coverage for towing. Have a plan for that. Know if you're buying it.
Oh, towing on the water.
Towing on the water.
Yeah, because I have a little bit of coverage on it. $500.
So, what's your plan? And who do you call? Because, you're going out, you're fishing these tournament lakes, during a tournament, if you have a breakdown.
If I run it up on a sandbar 150 yards?
Yeah, it's a lake maybe.
Because they'll pay for that, right?
They'll help pay to get you home, and get you towed and, up to a certain limit.
Mark Mitchell, I hope you're watching. I remember your boat at Tawakoni up on the sandbar, like 400 yards. Nice driving, dude.
Yeah. So, that can be part of your plan as well. So you keep that card, Progressive sends a card for sign and glide, and, they'll help you there. You can also buy with newer boats. Sign and glide is what Progressive calls it. They also have another deal they call Propulsion Plus, which is, you can get coverage for mechanical breakdown of your motor now. So normally insurance covers things that are non-mechanical in nature, right? Think of car insurance, right? If you have, you throw a rod in your engine, that's not insurance, right? Your engine broke down. But on the boat, you can get some coverage like that, and only if it's less than 10 years, and you have to, when you buy it, you have a 30-day kind of wait period, right? So that you're not putting on I blew my rod last week on the boat, and now I want the insurance, but you can get coverage for that stuff on newer boats.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So this has been great. I've learned a bunch. I get a feeling I'm going to get a lot of questions from guys. So if you don't mind, we may come back and do this again with the questions we get from the guys. Again, if you want to reach Martin, I'll post his contact info down below. He does all of this stuff and does a great job with it. So thanks for spending time with us. And you're going to Belton, right?
We're going to Belton. We're fishing for state. We're going to, see if we can get some full bags. 2-day tournament.
So if you got any help, when can you get help?
I don't know. I'm not supposed to get any more help.
Oh, you can't get help. Never mind. I had a great spot I was going to tell him about. He's on his own now. Well, hopefully you can find a shad spawn down there.
All right. I hope so.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all soon.